the artists of the Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts performing in the background. The 8 auspicious symbols. The 7 royal emblems. Then the auspicious substances. 8, I think, of them. Again, the long life prayer to His Holiness, authored by Jamyang Khenze Choegyud Lodre Rinpoche. Yan zube du dunam chagin yegen yezembe doge tamcha doje tabo den zachu manchu chembo shabden su mundo kun sangwa sumda yeme denda neve nenden samme kyap janjo tudon nibar shabden su de sumba chado menga shin bebe techen gebo yonso In the background, we see people from the Tibetan traditional 3 Tibetan provinces carrying the offerings as part of this long life prayer offering to His Holiness. And this is Khenze Choegyud Rinpoche, Gozo Rinpoche, His Eminence Godzog Rinpoche offering a statue, crystal statue of Buddha to His Holiness. And Dai Situ Rinpoche making offering of turquoise rock to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I think it's Ringu Rinpoche. Ringu Tugun, sir. Ningma. This is a long life prayer to His Holiness written by the two late tutors, Kyabche Ling Rinpoche and Kyabche Tijang Rinpoche. And this is the representative, the head Lama of the Burn tradition, making offering of the three representations of body, speech, and mind. His Holiness. Gama Chawala. Gada choegyud midre denda tenzin kyong tutse chen yishi chen den tenzon dacha tongshu President of Central Tibetan Administration, Sikyong, Dr. Lobsang Singye making the offering of the mandala, the three representations of body, speech, and mind of Buddha. He receives blessings of His Holiness and makes his request. The Chief Justice of the CTA, choegyud Honorable choegyud and the This is a prayer to Guru Padmasambhava. The prayer swiftly accomplishing, spontaneously accomplishing one's wishes. We have the Nechung Oracle Medium, and the Oracle Medium of Nyenchen Thangla.
Mare lobe zenjen tembe nyamo doge zenjen daje do do gele meba
And then the oracle medium, the lady, the two ladies. This one is from Ladakh, Kargil.
Dodo Donge Jembe Nevana, Java Bege Jemba Dongena, Dege Mebe Donjo Tabo Yenye Dezon Mevazu, Oyen Doje Boja Mevaze, Oyen Bema Jone Lazo, Samba Lunge Dobo Chinge Lo, Dodo Donge Jembe Nevana, Java Bege Jemba Dongena, Dege Mebe Donjo Tabo Yenye Dezon Mevazo, Oyen Doje Boja Mevaze, Oyen Bema Jone Lazo, Samba Lunge Dobo Chinge Lo, Dodo Donge Jembe Nevana, Java Bege Jemba Dong. Dege mebe donjo dawo ye yenye de don beba zo de oyen be ma jone la zo samba lunge dawo jinge lo de zon zanje goro rembo je ngoro gonda de wa jembe ba je gonze dondo tabe je zo de zo jinge la do ze jina za ba je shi wa da samba lunge dawo jinge lo de zon zanje goro rembo je ngoro gonda Dewa Jembe, Baje Gunze, Dendo Tabe, the Soa, Dezo, Jinge, Lado, the Jena Zame, Baje Jim, Samba Lunge, Dovo, Jinge, Lo, Dezo Zange, Guru, Rembo, Jembo, Gonda, Dewa Jembe, Baje Gunze, Dendo Tabe, the Soa, Dezo, Jinge, Lado, the Jena Zame, Baje Jim, Samba Lunge, Dovo, Jinge, Lo, Chadon.
Good. Yeah, that's it. And cholsum choegyud, daja, peu, chemin, jiji, jiji, cholsum choegyud java, tang. 대신도 3명이었다. 대신도 다 간다. 때문에 주니 개복공아. 그래서 도마자가네 표.
Tibetan deities. Sorry. So there are Tibetan Dharma protectors such as Temachunyi and so forth, who were bound by oath to protect the teaching during the King Tisung Detsen's time, and then Marchin Pomra and others who are the indigenous deities of Tibet. So the people from the 3 traditional provinces of Tibet and the major Tibetan Buddhist, Tibetan spiritual traditions, together with the deities, have made this Tenshuk long life prayer offering. I'd like to thank you all. I became sick some time ago, and many people inside and outside, not only Tibetans, but also people from around the world, were concerned about me, and there were many from China proper as well who felt concerned about my health. So with your unwavering faith and your commitment, and spiritual bond with me. You prayed for me. I would like to thank you all. Of course, when karma is something that if you have not created a karma, you will not suffer the consequence, and you will not suffer a karma of which you have not created the cause. So some karma which somebody else has done will not be ripened upon you, but because of family relationship and also spiritual connection between Lama and disciples, and also because of being from the same, having the connection, financial connection within the family, there is, when you make prayers to one another, it has its effect. And so those who have prayed for me, you have not done it as some kind of a acting superficial, but you have done it sincerely, and therefore your prayers have its own effect, and there are many prayers that were done, so it's quite sure that it has its effect and power. So I would like to thank you all for your prayers. So I cannot talk about past lives, my past incarnations, but in this life, having become a monk and having pursued the teaching of the Buddha, studying, and as Rinpoche himself has said towards the end of the praise to the Buddha for teaching dependent origination, so having followed the teaching of the Buddha, I have done quite a lot of study, and because of this study that I have done, I have felt special faith in the 17 Nalanda masters. In the past, we only had the 6 ornaments and 2 sublime masters, in which masters like Bhaviveka, Chandrakirti, Haribhadra, Vimukti Sena, and so forth were not included. So these 17 Nalanda masters who lived in the past, so if I praised and actually raised the status of these 17 Nalanda masters, there's nothing I gain from it, but if you really study their writings, you can actually see how you can help raise awareness of the teaching of the Buddha. So though I have not done much study, but I have studied the great treatises, and even today I do read them and study them even today. So having become a monk, following after you, the Buddha, and also pursued the study and having become a yogi pursuing the path. And so since my childhood I had interest in the view of emptiness, and I have really given serious thought on this topic. And my as debate assistant Gen Ngutup Tsoknyi, with whom I have done lots of discussions. Should I boast about something here? So this verse in the praise to the Buddha for, so he actually held his fingers like this, And he said this verse was very difficult, which says,
나한테 곡하고 민도.
so he really complained about finding it very difficult to comprehend the meaning of this verse, which says, because of the reason of dependent origination, you do not rely on the extremes. So if Nguru Tsongni were still alive, I would be able to offer him an offering of my practice. And Gyabje Ling Rinpoche, when I once related in connection with the second Dalai Lama, Gendun Gyatso's songs of view, experience of the view, I actually reported to my experience of emptiness to my tutor Gyabje Ling Rinpoche, and Ling Rinpoche told me that before long you will become a space yogi, meaning someone who has gained insight into the emptiness. So because Chögyud Lama Rinpoche also had said, because of the blessings of many of his teachers, he was able to actually move his tongue to speak about emptiness. So when you understand emptiness well, and also the luminous nature of the mind, and so and also it gives some better understanding of the insight into bodhicitta. And so with regard to bodhicitta, I found my mind transform on the basis of Bodhisattva Charya Avatara by Shantideva. Since I received teaching on it in 1967 from Kunu Lama Rinpoche Tenzin Gyaltsen, so I have actually applied the teaching. So since I received teaching on this from Kunu Lama Rinpoche Tenzin Gyaltsen, with regard to this view of emptiness, the profound emptiness, and also the extensive path of bodhicitta, the method aspect of the path, and so forth, I have been able to gain some experience and also relate and share it with others. So I can see that this is really beneficial to others. So on a daily basis, I generate bodhicitta and meditate on. And as it is said, all suffering in the world come from wishing oneself to be happy, and all happiness in the world come from wishing others to be happy. And unless you exchange your own joy and happiness with the suffering with others, suffering of others, you live alone reaching Buddhahood. Even in samsara, you will not reach, have happiness in samsara. And also, as the prayers in Bodhisattva Charya Avatara says, may I be sustenance to the multitude of beings like those of the space, the elements. And as long as space remains, I sincerely make this prayer. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, may I too abide to dispel the miseries of transmigrators. So in this life, I feel that I have been able to serve the Tibetan people and the Tibetan spiritual tradition, and also other people, how this altruistic state of mind helps oneself and others. So because of my conviction in this, I talk about this to everybody, everywhere, that this brings peace of mind and happiness. As Shantideva says, if you are not able to, if you don't exchange or switch your own joy and happiness with the suffering of others, I mean, live alone, reaching Buddhahood, even in samsara, you will not have happiness. And so if you look in at the world, you see how people are actually creating lots of problems to one another. Of course, animals, the wild animals like tigers and so forth, they kill other animals. When they are hungry, they do that, but not to the scale that human beings cause so much harm to one another. This human intelligence, instead of using it for positive, constructive purposes, people are using it as and making themselves like servants of under the influence of the negative emotions, and cause lots of problems, even to the extent of killing one another. So we are at a very sad situation in the world today, and therefore altruism is very necessary in today's world. So the philosophical teachings of the 17 Nalanda masters are also very important, following the Buddha's own statement, O monks and scholars, just as gold is tested by burnishing, etc. Likewise, you should examine my teaching. So the Buddha says, his disciples should not just believe in what he has said, but do critical analysis and investigation through reason and logic, and experiment. And through these means, once you find some conviction, then experiment his teaching. And so it's only the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha himself alone, who has said so amongst the many different founding teachers of different religious traditions. So some of the Theravada monks I know, so the first sermon of the Buddha was on the Four Noble Truths. The philosophical import of it is the Four Noble Truths, and then when it comes to practicing, the 37 factors or aids of enlightenment were taught. And then what is meant by the true cessation and what is the means of that leads to that true cessation. What is that true path? Is it possible to attain nirvana or not? So we're not just saying that, oh, this is possible because the Buddha said so. And you have to actually establish this truth through reason, and that's why it's taught in the perfection of wisdom teachings, the second turning of the wheel of Dharma. And today the people of the Pali tradition also pay attention to the using reason as well. So regarding the teaching of the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths, and the 16 aspects or attributes, which are really amazing. But if you only rely merely on scriptural citation, and it would be like chewing on something without teeth. But the Sanskrit tradition,
자 sanskrit tradition di le yundu di na la ne lung sam la kyos sho mai ba rikwe trubyaji
So Sanskrit tradition not only resorts to scriptural citations but also use reason and logic. Like Master Nagarjuna uses lots of reasoning in his Mula Madhyamaka Karika, and Aryadeva, his disciple too, does that. And then with regard to using logic and reasoning, emphatically we have the Master Diknaka and Dharmakirti, and so these two masters are like the masters who have given us teeth to chew on even very hard matters. So the Buddha taught the first sermon, and then the second turning. And together with this, along with that, we also come across that of logic and epistemology. And then the third turning, which teaches about the subjective clear light mind, and that connects us to that of the Tantrayana. So Gungdan Rinpoche has said that the three turnings of the wheel of Dharma are like the progressively climbing a mountain. So the first turning of the wheel of Dharma leads us to a certain stage, and then the second turning emphasizes the true cessation and true path, and then when you reach the third turning, it emphasizes mainly that of the subtle mind of true path, wherein there is also this third turning makes differentiation between the subtle and gross states of mind. In the beginning, when the Buddha became enlightened, he said, I have found this nectar-like Dharma, which is profound, peaceful, free from elaborations, and luminous and unconditioned. So the first two words, profound and peaceful, refer to the first turning of the wheel of Dharma, which shows how we are led into the samsara through the origin of suffering, giving rise to that of the origin, the true suffering, and how to get out of this cycle of existence through the path and attaining true cessation. And so with regard to the peacefulness, to demonstrate it through reason, we have the second turning of the wheel of Dharma, which is shown by the freedom from elaboration, and luminosity and unconditioned refer to the third turning of the wheel of Dharma, the third wheel, which is mainly the source of the source sutra of the Mahayana Uttara Tantra, where there is teaching on the Buddha nature through the 9 analogies or examples, and so we can see how the teaching of the Buddha can be understood as a progression from the first to the third turning of the wheel of Dharma. So we can understand as the intelligence and understanding of the disciples deepen further and further, the Buddha gave more deeper and deeper teachings, progressing from the first to the second to the third wheel of Dharma. So since there is the Sanskrit tradition emphasizes reason to establish the meaning, of course, for the obvious things, we don't need to reason out things, but on the basis of what is perceptually cognized, we use reason to see those which are slightly obscure or hidden phenomena. And when you are able to see the Buddha as an authoritative person, as a reliable person, by understanding emptiness and so forth, And then you'll be able to also see that the very obscure or the extremely hidden phenomena, although are hidden from us for now, I mean, once you find the Buddha through reason to be a reliable person, you can also see these teachings of the Buddha pertaining to the very hidden ones to be also reliable. And so this is something that we also have experienced in our day-to-day life. So the science mainly deals with the obvious phenomena, the manifest ones. So in our tradition, there is the manifest phenomena, the slightly hidden, and the very hidden phenomena. And so when we do discussions and dialogues with the modern scientists, we are able to actually learn there's a mutual learning between us. We learn from them, they learn from us. And so the instructions of the Buddha, which were made clear to us as if giving eye to us by the 17 Nalanda masters. So in this life, I'm able to serve human beings in the Dharma quite a bit. Therefore, my 3 commitments as one of the 7 billion people on this earth, since we are related, as much as I can, I serve. I'm thinking of serving humanity. And then as a Buddhist, I find it very important to have religious harmony amongst the religious traditions. It is something inconceivable that in the name of religion, people are actually killing one another. So, in reality, in India, the different religious traditions have been there for centuries. There is the practice of ahimsa, non-violence, which is rooted in the motivation of karuna, compassion. And so, in the Indian, classical Indian tradition of compassion, we find it very relevant in today's world. So the non-Buddhist Indian traditions believe in an independent Atma or soul, and the Buddhists reject that. But we both still do accept a self, because we do take food, drinks, tea, and so forth. So however much Buddhists say there is no independent self, we still do assert a self that is conventional. And so the Indian tradition is very amazing. And then there is also the practice of the calm abiding, shamatha, and vipassana, the penetrative insight. So all the major religious traditions of the world live in India. There is no conflict between the Shia and Sunni within the Islamic tradition in India. So in other parts of the world, there's killing of people, one another, in the name of these 2 denominations within Islam. They follow the same Quran, they follow the same Allah and Muhammad. Why do they do this? So, in order to be able to show to the world that religious harmony is possible, because it is possible in India. Why do we have the different philosophical concepts of the different traditions is to discipline our mind. Even the theistic religious traditions are meant for that. So, but though philosophically there is difference, the aim of all these religious traditions is same. That is peace. And so that's my second commitment, religious harmony, promoting religious harmony amongst religions. And then thirdly, as a Tibetan, whatever the history may be, in this life, for Tibetan cause, Tibetan spiritual tradition, and so when I was in Tibet, before becoming an exile, I have been able to benefit the people and the Dharma of Tibet quite a bit. But after, due to certain conditions beyond our control, we became exiles. And to promote, to raise the awareness of Tibetan traditions, while keeping the Tibetan identity intact, I have done my best to educate the Tibetans in exile. And so we have been very successful. Even though we are refugees, we are very unique amongst the refugees around the world. And so I have led the Tibetan people for our cause. But I have done my best. Though inside Tibet, there's nothing much I can do. But with regard to the Tibetan religious traditions and our cultural tradition, so the ritual that we have done earlier, part of it comes within the Lamaism. But that Lamaism is also based on the three wheels of the Dharma. So the Theravada monks may have felt that Lamaism may be true when they saw all these different things earlier. But when you actually sit down and discuss about the religious tradition, the spiritual tradition that we have, we can explain it. So the Buddhist tradition that we have in Tibet is a complete Buddhist tradition, which comprise both the basic and the universal vehicle, together with the Tantra. This tradition was established in Tibet by Master Chandrakshita, he himself being a great logician, and use proofs. And Master Sakyapandita also wrote the Treasury of Logic and Epistemology. So with regard to paying attention and taking interest in logic and epistemology, there is none like the Tibetans amongst the different Buddhist followers of Buddha's traditions. So we really have been practical about the Nalanda University tradition of Buddhism. And so today people do not have this idea of Lamaism regarding Tibetan Buddhist traditions. So instead people are now able to see that this tradition that we have follows reason. And today Tibetan is the best language to explain the Buddhist philosophical tradition and logic. So the Tibetan script is based on some old Indian script. So Tibetans have been really intelligent in following the teaching of the Buddha, the Nalanda tradition. So this language that we have is very precious. So in English is not adequate, and the Hindi is also not adequate. So Sanskrit is not in much use, and therefore Tibetan language alone is the one which can precisely explain the Nalanda University philosophical tradition. So, as a people, we can actually make people aware of, respect our identity. So I have made some contribution to this since we came into exile. It's been 60 years, during which I have been quite helpful, and I have been able to promote people's understanding of the Buddha Dharma and also bring about harmony amongst the religious traditions, and particularly the courage and the inner strength of the Tibetan people inside Tibet are unwavering, and their spirit has been unflinching. So because of that, we in exile in India also are able to keep up with whatever we are doing to preserve our own cultural tradition. And so of course, mainly because of the inner strength, the courage, and the spirit, firm spirit of the Tibetans inside Tibet, we have been able to do something good. I've been able to contribute something to our cause. So as someone who may this prayer may, as long as space remains and so forth. So since I'm able to benefit beings, if I live longer, it would be good. While I'm able to help. And this first Dalai Lama Thamje Khenpa Gyalden Drup has said that he has no wish to be born in some kind of a heaven or paradise, but to be reborn in places where he could actually serve suffering beings. And so, regarding myself, I'm able to make some contribution to the world today, as the first Dalai Lama made his wish. He lived about 84 years. So when I do make prayers to the first Dalai Lama, I still make prayers to the first Dalai Lama, to give his blessings so that I could still live for 10 to 15 years more to continue my service to the beings and the Dharma. I had a very typical dream. I was swimming. I don't know swimming, but in my dream I was swimming. And on my back was Palden Lhamo, and we were talking to one another. And Palden Lhamo said to me, "There's no doubt you'll live 110 years. So Palden Lhamo said that. And then in a previous dream, it was said that I would live 113 years. So this my living some more years, 10 to 15 years more. And so it's not just a wishful thinking, but Gato Gyetse Rinpoche also, who just passed away last year, and one of the previous Gyetse Pandita, there is a prophecy that I would live 113 years. So I have a great hope of being able to live 110 years. And so I will feel determined to live, and please make your prayers as well for that to happen, to materialize. And in Ladakh, people were asking me to come here and there, and I told them, do you prefer for me to live longer by staying relaxed, or live a hectic life and live shorter life? And so the concerned people have all told me that I need more rest. That's what I need. So finally, you have made this Tenshuk long life prayer offering to me. The people and the gods together have made this offering of long life prayer. And so I'm sure it will have its effect because of the circumstances of the causes and conditions coming together. So I hope to live 110 years if I take care of my health well. Thank you. That's all. Short long life prayer of His Holiness, making prayer to Amitabha and so forth. And then the concluding mandala offering. Having accepted our request for you to live for tens of thousands of eons for the benefit of, as a lord or of the Dharma and sentient beings, we make this mandala offering, Thanksgiving mandala offering to you. The Tibetan cabinet ministers, surrounded by the snow-capped mountains, the source of all good and happiness. Avalokiteshvara in person, Tenzin Gyatso, may you live until the end of samsara. This prayer to omit the use. So this is the prayer for the spread of the Buddha's teaching in a non-sectarian spirit, written by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama himself. Zenupa Tarsun Tembe to Yongo Jeden Yuren Tubden Nawen Go Tomar Jeze Kelop Chuge Sum Robin Zin Japan to get to Ganjon Jeden Yuren Yajen Gaye Nobu Tinkanto Zamun Drupde Chuge Techembo Zabian Ningdi Venu Rapto Ganjon Jeden Yuren by Yochik Yada Seningbum de Chugun Chuk Tebe Ze Kunsan de Men Gesa Drebe Ganjon Geden Yurin Ba Yochik Jen Jebe Yado Nambe Zonga Adisha Gewe Jungni Leon Tambe Sul Ganjon Geden Yurin Ba Yochik Dube Gewe Kadamba Kebu Sumtu Legd Haju Dünden Kadam Serge Chen Ganjon Geden Yurin Ba Yochik Yajo Maba Sheba Toch Jinab June Kaju no Buzu Tome Rimjun Kasu Mechon Wa Ganjon Geden de Chugun Semi Tute Chugun or to Nancy Korde Kunjab Chajach Ganjon Geden Yurin Ba Yochi Chezo Zomba Soten Hari Kund Sechen
Ganjon Geden Yurin Ba Songa Tsama Shinden Ye
Yolom Debu Nyamlen Chesab Ne Danjo Chichu Tambe So Ganjon Geden Yurin Ba Samo Ome Dada Nyerjeve Sanjin Doje Tekbe Rimni Lam Sabse Peke Losan Kewe Den Ganjon Geden Yurin Ba Yochik Gen Sunda Kede Shiye De Lam Demo Korim Nam Nano Yam Solembe Ganjon Geden Yurin Ba Yochik Yeje Shenda Shisum Chenan Shensun Tuge Kolo Ye Ndo Kaba Pucho Lusun Je
Ganjon Geden Yurin Ba Dona Shebe
Gajen Namju Tantu Yu Shinda Chida Shiche So Donga Sunde Menga Tome
Jo Ganjon Geden Yurin Ba
Denze Shabden Tudun Gendun Non Temba Kolo Sun
Sonje Kyonwa Dan
Tenla Tebe Kibu Saden Kyab Ganjon Geden Yurin Ba Gyurchik Gende Udo Samjoro Miyam Hidashi Yeje Shamden Nuchu Getsembe Dega Gyadu Dajan Tene Yonzo Dembe Langa Chen Simje Samba Tawa La Tusan Gombe Chido Chen Tende Sala Nyure Shu Gamye Tadu Kyobe Simjin Shir Kyoan Gese Yung Chu Shumdang Yin Shin Le Lo Meba Tan Tiji Dumbe Choke Chukbar Shu Daja Tenda Manam Deve Gyuru Gyuwa Dan De Da Gunge Dugun Kanche Ba De Gun Dala Yung So Mimbar Shu Nane Gunja Tege Pela Cheba Dan Meda Teso
Sanjo Lanje Genden Jo Dona Jise Nanga Neba Dan Dove Dungen Neba De Dajan Ne Dengo Dan Jeva Ye Bende Jevo Nye Yo Jo Sanje Naze Zodo Danje Gyango Wa Jedan Sedon Vezon Dan Chaja Doba Godan Lai Sanje Bawo Den La Chaze Lo Semjen Dendo Dajen Gawa Ganshi Chegyo Je Daje Dewa Danwa Ye Denba
This is also a prayer for the flourishing of the teaching of the Buddha. Comes from Sutra. This prayer recounts the Buddha, in this prayer, Buddha recounts the hardships that he went through, such as giving away his wife, children, his precious possessions and so forth, and how he endured hardships in the practice while practicing patience, morality, and so forth.
Yunden Dodo Gunzo Zen Pega Danga Yijin Gunji Tenjon Danje Dona Denda Bed Nande Nambeji Dayun Gonden Gawa Dunyan Tenjo Reze Sami Segeba Javel Jondo Geden Zanlen Gendo Gyowa Gyawa San Tedara Naya Kami Lewanji Tindre Geden
The sound of the drum beat, which is a prayer composed by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama to the Buddha. This prayer was composed in Bodh Gaya, when the all Tibetans made donations in order to offer the gold crown protrusion to the Buddha and the monastic robes to the Buddha statue in Bodh Gaya main stupa. And in this prayer, His Holiness also prays that may all the followers of the different religious traditions be harmonious with one another by respecting one another's religious traditions, and those who serve in the Tibetan administration, may they be guided and cared for by Avalokiteshvara from life after life. These are the three verses of auspiciousness, actually invoking the blessings of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha for the goodwill of the world and be the words of truth, prayer of the words of truth, composed by His Holiness Dalai Lama in 1960, invoking the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for the flourishing of the 10 virtuous deeds in the world. This prayer is for Tibet and the world at large, that the drought, famine, and so forth may cease in the world, and particularly the hordes of negative things that are being inflicted upon the Tibetan people be ended swiftly through the blessings of Avalokiteshvara. In the land surrounded by snow-covered mountains, the source of all good and happiness is you, Avalokiteshvara in person, Tenzin Gyatso. May you live until the end of the cycle of existence. And then the verses of dedication prayers. May we never be separated from the perfect Guru and attain Vajradhara state by progressing along the path and the grounds. His Holiness is departing the Tibet Temple.
Nijin Jumbo Dan, Latin Deja Dangela, Jejan Dama Ding, Jinde Belon Dovajo, Jedar Jeve Jinlend, Rama Yamangam, Ozuraye Davodo, Oyen Bema June, Jenga Janlan Danjana.